right, so Mr. Murphy, tell me about this decision. Why did you decide to not run for the next election?
Well, family comes first for me, and myself and the wife, when I first wanted to run, I guess in 2011, had a good discussion with her about it, and said, well, if we get in, let's give it one term and do a reassessment, see what's going to happen after that. So we did, and I ended up elected, and last week before, I guess, we started talking to people, and at the end of the day, it simply came down to a decision that I had to make. The party's bus was moving, certainly, and things had to be done, decisions had to be made. So I came out and made my decision that no, it's been great, and I think I'll pass on the laurels to somebody else and see how they do, and give somebody else a chance to write their name in the history books. But nothing behind it. It was simply a family decision, and you simply want to move on and try out other options too at the same time, something that's a little bit more forgiving for family and everything, spend more time with them, and yeah, it is what it is.
Was there any pressure from the party to make the decision sooner rather than later?
Oh, well, the pressure's coming from all parties, of course, for them to get their district set. Nominations, of course, have been called by the Liberals, and nominations will be called by us shortly, and by the Conservatives, I would imagine, very shortly too. So, everybody's got a timeline, everybody's got a critical path that they got to follow. So, it shouldn't be anything read into this decision that I made to go and step back, because obviously it gives opportunity for other people to step forward.
But I'm sure many people are looking at the new boundaries in Bill 13 and wondering if that had anything to do with your decision to step down.
No, not really. It was part of it too, I suppose, at the same time. Bill 13 has got to be one of the most sickening pieces of legislation that came across the House next to Bill 29. I didn't like it. We didn't vote for it for that reason. We knew that it was going to be a shock to democracy and representation and all of the above. You've heard the arguments before, but certainly it was part of the decision, I suppose, in some small way. But the simple fact is that whatever district that I would run in, I still want to represent the people. That's still the decision in the long run. I could have run anywhere, I suppose, in Newfoundland and Labrador, and wanted to represent people. So that's really, well, it's part of the decision, but it's not, and that's the way it is for me.
It's been an interesting 4 years, as pretty much every time period in Newfoundland politics is. Tell me a little bit about the party revolt that happened with Lorraine Michael, and how looking back on that now, what are your sort of thoughts, and how do you feel about it? And has that had anything to do with stepping out?
No, and I'll tell you why. As much as it still rides my mind sometimes, it's kind of like Apollo 13 for me. It wasn't my greatest defeat. It was one of my greatest victories, because I stayed for the fight. And right now I'm still staying for the fight, and that's just the way I look at it. I think that, the party's gone well past that. The boys made a decision to move on. That was their decision to make. But I stayed for the fight. And, I think that that might say a little bit about, it probably told more about myself than I ever knew before.
Did it make things a little bit challenging in the party?
No, not really. At the end of the day, I was still making my own decisions and consulting with staff and getting research done by the same researchers that were in there. Like I said, it always rode my mind, but no, it was one of my greatest victories, I think. That might sound to be a funny way to put it, but like I said, I stayed.
And how has the new leader, having Earl McCurdy at the helm, affected the party?
Oh, Earl's great. He's all gusto, wants to get things done right away. He's got a lot on his dinner plate. We're last in the polls right now, but we're at 22%. Things have changed. Things are looking radically different out there, and people want to be governed, yes. But they want decisions that are made in their best interest, not decisions that we're seeing today, like Bill 29. Look what happened with Bill 29. We ended up having to go back and redo it. They don't want to see government wasting their time either, and they want to see things done constructively, and they want to see a province built. Right now we're seeing a province falling down. Look at the budget, $1.1 billion in the hole, and all the oil revenues coming in, and The Atlantic Accord transfers are all over with, done. Now it's time to get down to hard work. Well, the reality is we should have been working hard towards that end 10 years ago, but we weren't. So, there's some tough decisions that got to be made. There's a lot of people that got to be looked after. You look at the aging demographic that we have in the province right now versus what's 15 years down the road, 20 years down the road. We're going to have 3 times the amount of people retiring in 15, 20 years from now than what we have right now. And we've got this big problem now dealing with seniors. So how are we going to deal with it in 15 years? Nobody's answering the question, even though we keep on asking it. People want answers. They want to be led, they want to be governed, but most of all they want to see the expedient use of their tax dollars. And, they're fighting to get those answers.
You still sound like someone interested in the policies and future of this province. What's next for you?
I'll take the road less traveled. I keep telling everybody that, life is an adventure. I have no set plans. I'm going to finish out my term going out to November 30th, but, being involved, it's the responsibility of 520,000 people in this province to remain involved and to stay engaged. The challenge is for government to keep these people engaged too at the same time. So, I'm still going to be there. I'm still going to be making noise. I'm still going to be doing my gas and oil pricing. I think everybody's wondering about that. I'm still going to be at it for as long as I can. And, I'm still going to be involved because this place matters. Our people matter. Our children matter. We are the greatest resource. It's not the oil offshore. It's the people that are on the land, So whatever happens in Newfoundland and Labrador, I'm sure I'll be there.
And looking back, what do you think sticks out for you in your experience 4 years as an MHA?
Boy, that's a hard one. I suppose when you go in there, you want to get things done. I actually got things done. Just because you're a rookie MHA doesn't mean that you can't get things done. Don't let that stop you from ever running. I managed to get move over legislation passed by the government. I think I'm the only member of the House of Assembly that actually got a piece of legislation passed, so that's a great victory. I still worry about this province environmentally, on the environmental end of things, because of course I'm staunch anti-fracker. Should not happen in this province, in Newfoundland and Labrador, anywhere. Don't be bedazzled by the drops of oil, because you can't drink money. It's as simple as that for me. This place matters. Let's keep who we are, and that's about it. I suppose I worked on pesticides, looking to get the pesticides banned, some pesticides anyway. But the fracking moratorium, certainly the move over legislation. But there are small personal victories that we had for constituents too that you'll never hear about. Would never ever make the news, but send people away happy and knowing that they got representation and everything. Those are the people that I think about. It's not the big ones, it's the small victories, and that's what life is all about, is the small victories. Sometimes you celebrate the big one, but more often than not, celebrate the small ones. So.
And finally, this in the polls provincially and federally, and of course we just saw the NDP in Alberta take that win. It seems like the NDP has a lot of momentum, and that the electorate is looking for change. Is it a little bit bittersweet to be stepping away from politics at this particular time?
No, no. Life is a highway. Get on it and get out there and pass a few cars and live your dreams. Life is a highway. Am I going to miss it? Yeah, and I don't know what's going to happen 10 years down the road. Somebody could come along in 5 years down the road and say, George, would you like to run again? And I might say yes, but I'm not looking that far down the road. I'm looking at tomorrow and focusing on family, and that's where I'm to right now.